Hello and welcome to Shootin' the Breeze. I'm WECT First Alert Chief Meteorologist Gannon, and I'm so stoked to have you aboard for this episode 15 of Shootin' the Breeze, dropping in the beautiful season of spring. And this episode's trivia question is on the subject of a perennial springtime talker, daylight saving time. So here goes. If daylight saving time did not exist, and Wilmington clocks did not spring forward 1 hour in March, then what time would the sun rise in the port city come June? Would that sunrise time be A, 4:59 a.m., B, 5:15 a.m., C, 5:29 a.m., or D, 5:45 a.m.? The enlightening answer in just a moment when we wrap up Shootin' the Breeze. Every day, meteorologists with the National Weather Service Storm Prediction Center, or SPC, issue severe thunderstorm risk outlook zones for the entire nation. The SPC is looking for zones where both the thermodynamics of the atmosphere are favorable for thunderstorms and the dynamics, like wind shear, are available to take such thunderstorms to the next level with severe weather hazards like damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes. Your First Alert weather team often frames forecast narratives for the Cape Fear region and Carolinas around these risk outlooks. Levels 4 and 5 are the SPC's top tier. These are for moderate to high severe weather risk situations. The Cape Fear region averages less than one of these setups per year, and that's awesome because on days with risks of level 4 or 5, you are highly likely to experience at least disruptive, if not destructive weather. March 18th, 2021 had a level 4 severe risk for the Cape Fear region, and no severe weather materialized for an exceptionally lucky outcome. Those do happen. But a more classic and infamous example of a day with a moderate to high severe risk came about 10 years earlier on April 16th, 2011. And it saw dozens of instances of damaging wind, large hail, and tornadoes, including a deadly EF2 twister that carved a 14-mile path from Bladenboro to Elizabethtown in Bladen County. SPC levels 2 and 3 are termed slight to enhanced severe weather risk. The Cape Fear region falls under these risk levels around a dozen times per year. And you may find plenty of occasions where these risk days turn out to be duds. But these weather setups also account for a large percentage of the area's severe weather annually. SPC levels 0 and 1 correspond to the lowest risks for disruptive and/or severe thunderstorms. The Cape Fear region typically falls under these risk outlooks dozens upon dozens of times per year. But it is important not to dismiss them or ignore them as white noise. For one, all thunderstorms, even ones that fall short of the official severe criteria, all thunderstorms by definition produce lightning, and lightning is inherently dangerous. And secondly, let's call it like it is. Low severe weather risk days do produce severe weather in rare instances. February 15th, 2021 was a horrifying example of this in the deadly Ocean Ridge tornado. The Carolinas were under just a level 1 severe risk designation on that evening. And to be fair, only one instance of severe weather actually occurred in the two states. But tragically, it happened to be an EF3 twister that killed 3 people near Ocean Isle Beach. No matter what a particular day's SPC threat level is, your free WECT weather app has your back with interactive storm radar, real-time National Weather Service severe bulletins, and if the situation warrants, live frame-by-frame storm coverage from the First Alert Forecast Center. Just a few days away from the launch of this episode of Shootin' the Breeze, a total solar eclipse will make for a very special celestial event in North America. In this great American eclipse, the moon will completely cover the sun for part of the afternoon of April 8th for many of our neighbors from Texas northeast to Maine. This so-called path of totality will miss the Wilmington area by a bit of a wider margin than that of a similar eclipse from the summer of 2017. In that eclipse, the Cape Fear region saw 96 to 98% moon over sun coverage. 76 to 78% will do it for this one. Still a good partial for sure. In Wilmington, the eclipse will start a few seconds before 1:59 p.m. and become much more pronounced through the 2 o'clock hour. At 3:15 p.m., the maximum partial eclipse will be realized in the port city. And in the 4 o'clock hour, the eclipse will end. I must note, the only way to safely view any part of this partial eclipse is through ISO 12312-2 glasses, because even a tiny portion of the exposed disk of the sun is too intense to look at with your naked eye without risk of damage. Only those viewers in the eclipse's path of totality and during the time of totality may safely view the eclipse without special glasses. And I can tell you from experience, viewing a total solar eclipse live and with your own eyes is nothing short of amazing. Broad daylight suddenly turns to deep twilight. The streetlights even come on. And high above you, for a few divine moments, only the sun's corona remains visible to set the edge of the black disk that is the moon ablaze with a hypnotic radiance. It's no wonder that professional and amateur photographers alike flock to eclipses. C.F. Howard of Pender County tells me he's been planning a trip to Texas for this one for years. Nick Noble of Brunswick County traveled to the path of totality in 2017, and he said he simply focused and clicked, lots of clicks, he said, are necessary to cover such a dynamic and ever-changing event. That's awesome shooting, Nick. Chuck Copeland of Pitt County also traveled to totality in 2017, and he had an interesting take. He said, I wish I had taken a moment to get some awesome shots of the shadows. They were really cool, but I was focused totally upward, which is understandable, Chuck. Great shot. Steve Winthrop of New Hanover County and Keith Green Sr. of Brunswick County stayed local for the 2017 event and said a neutral density filter was a must for their shots. Here's a fantastic partial from Keith's 600mm lens with variable shutter speed, because he said transient clouds were a consideration for him at his spot. My favorite photo of the 2017 eclipse was this one from Michael Boswell of Brunswick County. He snapped it in the town of Cross, South Carolina. Michael passed away in 2023. I'd imagine if he was still with us, he'd have shooting plans for the upcoming eclipse. And as for me, the only pic I got from the 2017 eclipse was this one as totality was ending and dawn was coming in the middle of the afternoon in the western sky. This was just outside the courthouse in Georgetown, South Carolina. I was so caught up in the eclipse, I really forgot to try to take pictures. Let's brighten things up after that eclipse content, shall we? This episode's trivia question required you to imagine when the sunrise in Wilmington in June would be if there were no daylight saving time. Well, congratulations to the early birds. The answer is A. A standard time June sunrise for the port city would come at 4:59 a.m. That's it for this 15th episode of Shootin' the Breeze. Please look for more content on the Great American Eclipse on WECT News and weather reports in the coming days. And I welcome you to connect with me on these platforms. If you have a question about a topic you saw here on Shootin' the Breeze, if you have a suggestion for a Cape Fear or Carolina weather item you'd like to see covered in the future, or if you just want to say hello and what's the good word. And as always, WECT.com/anywhere is a great place to find more unique WECT over-the-top content. Hope I'll see you for the next episode of Shootin' the Breeze, and take care.